days after Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished off the radar, someone claims they've found it using Google Earth.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And incredible news! They've found MH370 at last. Can you believe it? Just sitting there on Google Earth. And as news.com.au and the Daily Mail reported, the plane was found with bullet holes, which means someone must have shot it down. And in case you need proof, here is the aircraft in the Indian Ocean just north of Mauritius, which, as London's The Sun points out, is miles from where they've been looking. So, who made this astonishing find? A dinky-die Australian expert.
Australian mechanical engineer and former crash site investigator Peter McMahon says he's tracked the aircraft down off the coast of Mauritius and that the public is being kept in the dark.
And where did he make this claim? On social media, of course. And before long, those hungry London tabloids were onto him.
Hi, Peter. I'm a journalist from the Daily Star Online. Would you be able to follow me so I could DM you about MH370?
Then up went the story, and Peter's find was worldwide news. Amazing! So, is it true? Well, no. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau, which is in charge of the search, told reporters who asked that it was nonsense, and that
the images sent to ATSB by Mr McMahon were captured on the 6th of November 2009, over 4 years before the flight disappeared.
Ah, shame that no one rang them before publication. Anyway, news.com.au then removed its story, and others like the Daily Star scrambled to rewrite theirs with headlines like
Investigators speak out on MH370, Google Maps bullet holes claims.
That's speak out, as in reveal it's rubbish. So, what about the claim that the missing plane was found by a mechanical engineer who worked in crash investigations? Well, the sad but shocking truth is that Peter McMahon is a car mechanic, and the crashes he's investigated do not involve planes. But it's worth saying he's never sought media attention, as far as we can tell, and never misrepresented who he was. And as one radio prankster at Kiwi station The Rock FM, who chatted with him, said on air,
he had no idea that he was in the news. He put this up on his Facebook page, and everyone's taken it from solid gospel. So he's been taken out of context, and the truth's been thrown around a little, for headlines.
Got it in one. We've seen a few social media shockers lately, but that is the bottom of the barrel. But now to a story that is almost as stupid. Here's the promo for Friday night's Today Tonight in Adelaide.
Having to apologise for being white.
Oh, I think it's a disgrace.
Nurses told to say sorry before treating Aborigines.
It has real consequences.
Politically correct or risk dismissal.
Those crazy claims weren't just on 7. The trusty Daily Mail had them the day before.
Racist to its core. Outrage as nurses are subject to a new code where they must announce their white privilege before treating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander patients.
Is it April Fool's Day, I hear you ask? No, that's still a week away. So, where did it come from? Take a bow, Peter Credlin, Tony Abbott's former Chief of Staff, who told her Sky News viewers on Wednesday it was a story she almost can't believe. At least she got that bit right. She then went on to ask her guest,
please tell me I'm wrong. As I understand it, this new code of conduct for nurses in Queensland requires, obviously, white nurses to announce they've got white privilege before they can look after patients of an Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander background. Am I right there?
And back came the answer from Graham Haycroft of Queensland Nurses Association, the NPAQ.
Yes, you are, except that it's not just Queensland, Peter, it's all of Australia. There's 350,000 nurses and midwives Australia-wide, and they're all now subject to this new code.
So is the story true? Well, no, although there is some basis to it. There is a new code for nurses and midwives which came into effect this month, and it does talk about Indigenous patients, and the glossary does say this about white privilege.
In relation to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health, cultural safety provides a decolonising model of practice based on dialogue, communication, power sharing and negotiation, and the acknowledgement of white privilege.
Now, you might think that is pretty balmy stuff, but the glossary is not the code that nurses must adhere to, and nurses are not required, forced or even encouraged to announce their white privilege to patients before treating them, or indeed at all. Yet that crazy claim has been gathering strength for weeks. Ever since Corey Bernardi first made it in January in his, quote, weekly dose of common sense, where he dubbed it medical Marxism and claimed the code says,
Nurses must acknowledge white privilege and voice this acknowledgement if asked.
True to form, the Daily Telegraph was first to seize on the story. Then, a few weeks later, the Cairns Post cranked it up. And last week, the Daily Mail and news.com.au followed the Credlin interview by revving it up again. At which point, Andrew Bolt and Chris Smith joined the fun.
What about if they're just within seconds of dying and the nurses, they fling themselves into action, but they have to stop while they just announce their white privilege? Oh, too late.
Yeah.
Please
keep your heart beating for one more beat because, sir, I need to talk to you about my white privilege.
Hilarious, eh? So, who is driving all this outrage? Answer, Credlin's interviewee, Graham Haycroft, founder of the breakaway union, the Nurses Professional Association of Queensland, which represents around 2,500, yes, 2,500, of Australia's 390,000 nurses and midwives. Now, Haycroft is not a nurse, but a labour hire millionaire who's made his fortune busting unions. He's also a former bigwig in the LNP and a member of the fiercely anti-union HR Nichols Society. And he's been spreading fear about the code to anyone who'll listen, like the inimitable John McKenzie, or Macca, on Cairns 4CA.
When this issue emerged, everyone thought it was a practical joke. But it's far from a practical joke, isn't it?
Well, it's worse than that. It's an insidious form of racism, and it's going to end up with a form of apartheid in the health system.
And a couple of weeks before that, Graham Haycroft was getting 2GB's Michael McLaren in Sydney equally riled up.
This all sounds ridiculous to me. What the hell is cultural safety? No one's ever heard of it.
So, what is cultural safety? Well, according to that new code from the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia,
rather than saying, I provide the same care to everyone regardless of difference, cultural safety means providing care that takes into account Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people's needs.
Doesn't sound too bad, you might think. But Haycroft, who's using the issue to rally support for his union, claims the code will see nurses lose their jobs. And here is how.
If you've got an Aboriginal or Indigenous patient and they don't like the bedside manner of the nurse because the nurse is not acknowledging her white privilege if she happens to be white, then a complaint can be lodged and there's no defence.
So is that true? Well, no again, at least according to the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia, who drew up the code.
Are nurses encouraged to announce their white privilege before treating Indigenous patients?
No.
Is there any requirement to acknowledge or announce white privilege before treating a patient?
No.
Can a nurse be sacked for not declaring or addressing their white privilege to a patient?
No. The recent criticisms from Mr Haycroft are based on completely untrue statements.
Graham Haycroft told MediaWatch he stands by his claims, and no doubt he'll be encouraged to keep on repeating them by Conservative commentators who'd love to believe they're true. But they are not, and he should not be allowed to make them unchallenged. But now, let's see what's hot out west.
Well, people hear the words Western Australia, they think of the mining boom up north, the wine country down south, even our pristine beaches. But what about the city? Well, as a born and bred local, I'm here to show you our newest tourism hotspot.
That's 9 News reporter Rebecca Johns, who's an enthusiastic guide to the best of Perth and its local businesses, especially on her Instagram account.
After being a complete piglet on holiday last week, I decided it was time to give myself a good detox with Pure Glow Cleanse. #TheGlowLife.
That's from Rebecca's Instagram last weekend, where almost 20,000 followers hang out for tips on the many products and services that enrich her sun-kissed life. Like expensive frocks and jewellery, TV dinners, healthy and delish, right to your doorstep, and numerous local hairstylists and salons, with special discounts for her devoted followers.
The amazing team at Morph Salon in Cannington are offering my Instagram friends and family an exclusive offer.
Yeah, nice if you can get it. And she obviously can. But Becca's favourite local drop-in is Perth cosmetic surgery clinic Med Aesthetics, whose facials and treatments Rebecca has spruiked in 4 separate posts in the last year.
Do your skin a giant favour and try out the Hydrofacial and Heal Light Therapy from the team at Med Aesthetics Australia.
But for them, it's even better. She's got them on the news in Nine's flagship 6 o'clock bulletin.
It's the cosmetic injectable that melts away fat.
Most patients tolerate it quite nicely because it's already quite numb.
And doctors agree.
More and more people even with limited budgets, are able to afford these treatments.
That was April. And here she is again on 9 in August, talking laser treatments with Medestetics Dr. Ishan Jadoon.
The only laser that can effectively treat stretch marks are the ones that can penetrate deeper into the skin.
Depending on the size of the stretch marks, it takes between 3 and 6 sessions to complete.
So, is Rebecca getting her lifts for free or on the cheap? And is that why the clinic is featured in her TV reports? And did she get freebies or discounts from those fabulous friends on her Instagram feed? Well, we don't know, because while some denied giving her special deals, others never responded to our questions. And Rebecca refused to tell us. But a Nine spokesperson did say,
"We have investigated and there was a breach of Nine's social media policy."
So, what will happen to Rebecca? Will she be disciplined or will she get off free again? Either way, she needs to declare what the deal is with the product she's spruiking, because the public has a right to know. Better still, just stop doing it altogether. And finally, to a riveting story from Seven's Sunday night, involving the tragic death of a young woman who fell from a Gold Coast high-rise.
As Bree lay dying, why did her boyfriend call his lawyer? What we've uncovered will stun Australia.
I believe this foul play.
You are a dangerous man.
I wouldn't say a dangerous man. I'd say a hole.
Reporter Denham Hitchcock spoke to new witnesses and raised the question of foul play, putting Bree's much older boyfriend, Dan Sheeran, squarely in the spotlight.
I just know that she didn't jump. I just know that he was involved.
Did he do it? This is Dan Sheeran's first ever interview. No question is off limits.
It was quite a get for Denham, an exclusive interview with Dan Sheeran, who served jail time for the menacing text he sent to Bree and who has this disturbing criminal history.
Then February 2016 was the unlawful stalking charge.
Yes.
So you pleaded guilty to. And that was a restraining order with a 12-month probation.
Yes.
When you look at all of this, multiple charges, multiple women, apprehended violence orders, domestic violence orders, it doesn't look good.
What do you want me to say to that?
Sheeran says Bree committed suicide off the balcony and told Seven he had no involvement in her fall.
Did you push your girlfriend off the balcony that day?
No. I was nowhere near her.
Did you encourage her to jump in any way?
No.
But with police still reviewing the case and a possible coronial inquest, why did he talk to Sunday Night? And did they pay him? Sunday Night's online story says,
Dan did not receive directly or indirectly any payment from the Seven network for his participation in the story.
But it turns out Seven did pick up the tab for his lawyer, Chris Hannay, confirming to MediaWatch that they had covered
the small fee to have a legal representative attend the interview for 2 hours.
And Sunday Night's online story also admitted
Seven Network has made a donation in honour of Brianna Robinson to charity.
So, if you're wondering which charity he chose, we'll let Dan Sheeran tell you via the email he sent to numerous media outlets, revealing that Seven was donating $5,000 to a charity called Headspace, which helps young people with mental illness. Adding,
"I am pleased that Headspace can benefit from my willingness to partake in this interview, as it is charities like them that are on the front line of helping us as a society combat suicide, so that youth do not feel lost, like Brianna Robinson did."
The Headspace donation was certainly news to Bree's aunt, Janine Macney, as was the fact that Seven had covered Sheeran's lawyer's fees. And she was furious, telling MediaWatch,
"I inquired on several occasions if Dan Sheeran was receiving payment for his interview. The producer assured me multiple times that he was not."
And she added,
"It deepens my grief to know Dan Sheeran continues to benefit from the death of our beloved Bree. Sheeran's continued attempts to purport himself as a suicide ambassador sicken our family. Our beautiful Bree did not commit suicide. Our gratitude to Headspace for declining the offer."
It's been tough enough for Bree's family, coping with her death. The agreement to give money to Headspace, even though they turned it down, has made it even tougher. In our view, Seven made a mistake in allowing that to happen. And that's all from us until after Easter. You can read more about our stories on Facebook or our website and see statements from Janine Macney and Dan Sheeran. You can also contact me or MediaWatch on Twitter. And don't forget Media Bites every Thursday. But for now, goodbye.